Hi, my name's Yvonne. I'm a therapist, and this is another do-it-yourself mental health video. And this video is about relationship trauma, specifically like PTSD after a relationship. And I'm going to start this off by telling you a story. I grew up in Miami, and when I was living in Miami, I was really heavy into cycling. I loved being on my bike. And one day I was riding my bike and I was enjoying the day. It was beautiful, it was kind of hot, whatever. And suddenly I met a car on a blind driveway and I went flying off my bike. Essentially, the car hit me as I got to that part of the street and I fell off the bike. And long story short, miraculously, I was able to walk away from that relatively unscathed. I didn't have any injuries that anybody could see. I had some cuts and scratches, but no breaks, nothing. And so I went home. And the next morning I got up and the first thing I did is I listened to what people tell me, which is you got to get back up on that horse. And so I went to the bike shop. I took my busted bike. I traded it in, got a new bike, and I got right back on my bike again to go for a bike ride. And it was miserable. I was really scared. I didn't feel good. Every single time I came to like a blind driveway, I could feel myself starting to panic. And it was so bad that I couldn't really enjoy the bike ride. But I kept trying, and every day I'd get on the bike and I kept trying to, get back into that groove where it felt good and I loved it, but I couldn't. And so after a while, probably for like a month, I kept trying this. I decided to give the bike a break and I decided to take a break from it. And I just remember my dad telling me, listen, the bike's not going to go anywhere and neither are all those bike trails. So just maybe give yourself a minute. And so I did. Now, I didn't do anything intentionally, and I didn't even know that maybe I was struggling with some trauma from that bike accident. But I know that I let some time pass. I let myself get some distance from that particular incident until I started to feel better, until I was starting to think about getting on my bike and it didn't scare me anymore. Like there was a little bit, but not bad. And then finally, I decided to get on my bike. And so this is like 4 months later. But what's interesting is that I got on the bike. That first time, I remember I was still nervous. I was still a little bit like, I don't know. But it wasn't overwhelming. And every time I got to like an intersection, I was aware, but I wasn't freaking out. And then eventually I got back into my groove. And I started to really enjoy the bike rides. And so I realized that what needed to happen is I needed to get back in touch with that part of me that had confidence, with that part of me that recognizes that I can't guarantee the future, that even if I'm more aware and I'm more careful and all of that, all the things that are good, that at the end of the day, getting on a bike is risky, right? It's risky, but I love it. I loved it so much at the time that I was willing to deal with the risks just because I loved bike riding so much. And I still do. Now, what the hell does this have to do with relationships and trauma? A lot. Because see, a lot of times what happens is you might be in a relationship, and even in the best of relationships, meaning even in those breakups that aren't really awful, relationships that weren't really traumatic, it's really important to take some time to get some distance between you and the relationship that just ended. Now, if there was trauma in your relationship, if there was verbal abuse, there was any kind of violence, any kind of abuse, any kind of conflict, and you know that it made an impact on you, if you get right into another relationship, chances are it's going to be much like I felt the day that I got on my bike after the accident. And that's that you're going to be so hyper vigilant and worried and scared and assuming that something horrible is going to happen, that it's going to really get in the way of your ability to like get into that relationship and enjoy it and appreciate the person that you're with. You're just going to be waiting for something terrible to happen. And usually when that is the case, you end up getting into fights and arguments with this new person that you're dating who has no idea what you've just been through. And so what I suggest to people all the time is this. It's like, okay, get some distance between you and the end of that relationship or that relationship. And so you got to take some time. In that time, you need to get back in touch with whatever part of you was super confident before you got into that relationship. Essentially, you have to work on yourself. And there's a lot of videos on how to work on yourself, but you got to, no matter what, you got to process that relationship. Process how you feel. And then you'll start to notice that over time, you're not thinking about it as much, or that when you think about it, it doesn't destabilize you anymore. That is the indicator that maybe you're ready to get back out there. Now, just like I felt a little bit nervous the first time I got back on my bike after some time had passed, when you go and try to date again, let me tell you something, it's not going to be comfortable. Like, you're going to get into another relationship, and it's totally okay that maybe you're going to be a little bit nervous. I think we all are a little bit nervous at the beginning of a relationship. You're going to be a little bit nervous. Maybe you're going to be a little more aware, a little more vigilant, and that's okay, because maybe you can recognize danger a little bit quicker. But know that it's going to be uncomfortable, and be okay with it, and just trust yourself. But don't expect to get into another relationship and it be like super chill from the very beginning. No, you're going to be nervous. But over time, you'll notice that in the relationship, you're not feeling super terrified. Like, it's not a body reaction where you're trembling and terrified. No, it's not like that. Now, if some time has passed and you get into a relationship and you still feel those body sensations, like your heart races, your chest gets tight, that's an indicator for you that you still have work to do. And you cannot expect the person that you get into a relationship with to be the person to make that go away. That is not fair. And that's risky. You're putting the key to your peace in somebody else's pocket. And so I hope this has been helpful. This video was created because somebody reached out to me about PTSD after relationships. So if you have an idea or you want a video about something, either put it in a comment or send me a message. Have a great day. Bye.